I am the Vampire Lestat. I am a god.
Okay, so imagine you are a centuries-old vampire, right? And one of the most dramatic ones out of the lot. Then you see a book written about you and it's full of hogwash. What do? If your answer was to start a rock band, then you're the right kind of audience for the Vampire Lestat, the retitled new third season of AMC's Interview with a Vampire. And yes, that's the premise of this show. So obviously, critics have seen the show and they're losing their minds over it in the best way possible. Now, let me catch you up on everything that's been going down. In the first 2 seasons of the show, we had Louis de Pontdulac, played by Jacob Anderson, who told his vampire life story to journalist Daniel Malloy, played by Eric Bogosian. The memoir finally gets published, and Lestat de Liancourt, played by the marvelous Sam Reed, reads it and loses it entirely. So, in comes the glittery taipans and original music, because it's now revenge time. And to set the record straight, this isn't a joke. And the critics, well, they're calling this one of the best television seasons of the decade. So without further ado, let's start off with the numbers according to Dark Horizons. The third season of AMC's Interview with a Vampire is pulling in some of the best critical review scores seen for a TV series this decade. There are 17 reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, and with those 17 reviews, the show is sitting at a perfect 100% score, which is very rare to say the least. Individual reviewers have literally handed out either a 4.5 or a 5 out of 5 rating. The average rating? A whopping 9.3 out of 10. On Metacritic, it has a score of 90 out of 100, which means it's literally next to titles like The Pit and Adolescence, which are both critically acclaimed TV shows with scores of 92 and 91, respectively. So overall, I would say AMC is having a very good week. The reviews, well, let's get into it because the quotes are genuinely something else. Collider's Carly Lane, who reviewed the first 6 of 7 episodes, titled her piece, "Watching the Vampire Lestat gave me a TV hangover," which is a headline for sure. She then goes on to describe the season as a decisively bold chapter that manages to be equal parts chaotic and poetic, as perpetually unpredictable and enthralling as its subject, while refusing to hold a viewer's hand throughout any of it, which is the highest compliment you can give to a show with a premise like this. Lane described the storytelling as a television show and a visual album wrapped up in one. She also pointed out that the show completely embraces the madness and excess of its premise, which is the key to success for stories like this to work. In her words, every episode made her feel like she was on the same wild tour as the characters, overwhelmed by an onslaught of imagery and swept up in the fervor of nightly shows. Then you have Rotem Ruzak over at Nerdist, who wrote that the Vampire Lestat is unlike anything else on TV right now. Rusak stated that the show is not a simple watch, if that's what you're looking for. Instead, it's a revelatory meditation on some of the most intense possible themes, dressed up in sultry, crooning, sweat, and glitter, with an edge sharp enough to slice right into you. I don't know about you guys, but count me in. Rusak also made a fantastic point about the show's approach, asking the viewers to let go of the specifics of the story and lose themselves in the feeling of the world, its rhythms, harmonies, and dissonances, describing the show as an experience, a baptism worth undergoing. So you heard it here, guys. Sam Reed is out there saving souls, and I have a soul that might just need some saving. Then you have Den of Geeks' Lacey Bauer, who called the show hands down one of the best adaptations in television history. She described the show as blowing up the narrative in the absolute best way possible, pointing out that the show allows for a near-perfect blend of the franchise's signature bombastic, camp, and quiet, unexpected emotional depth. But Bauer is very real in her review. The change in the show is pretty cool, yes, but it takes a little bit of getting used to. The New Orleans setting and the linear structure we have grown used to are completely gone, and now the show jumps back and forth with basically no warnings. Usually this is something that deducts points from critics, but not this one. Plus, Sam Reed does the near impossible task flawlessly, as Den of Geek pointed out, playing multiple versions of Lestat across various points in his human and undead life, singing all the songs himself, and running a gamut of frequently devastating emotions from overt cruelty to crippling despair. If Hollywood has any sense of justice, just as Bauer wrote, Reed would land an Emmy for this. It's outstanding. And, well, I agree wholeheartedly. Then you have Judy Berman at Time, who offered a really hilarious description of the tonal shift that happens this season. She wrote that Interview has a sense of humor about its high drama, but this season sometimes plays like a full-on comedy. She also said that marvelously fun shift in tone more than justifies the title change, and that as the season progresses, it becomes more like its predecessor, an empathetic portrait of an immortal monster with human psychology. Sounds like this show is serving everything and more for us. We also have Christy Puchko from Mashable. She commented on showrunner Roland Jones, stating that Jones will deliver for fans who want a sexy Lestat strut as a rock star, argue with his on-again, off-again exes, and be a brat prince in full. While that is enough to make me happy, this show, according to Puchko, does not lose its edge. Why? Because the show comes with a sleazy layer of grit that keeps the show from losing its edge. Puchko also commented that he'll go harder and deeper, unearthing subplot savage, sumptuous, and absolutely addictive. She ends her review with a line that I feel like should have been the poster for the show, saying that nothing from the books prepared me for what Jones does here. Now, as someone who has read the books, I'm not sure if I should be happy or terrified at the notion that this is nothing like the books. But either way, what gives, right? I am in it for the fun of it. Now let's see what The Wrap had to say. Kaylee Donaldson from The Wrap called the show a striking and nervy piece of work that goes there over and over again, and praised Jones for proving that he could steer this show through the novel's more unhinged deviations and make it gripping. More unhinged deviations. This kind of worries me, but then again, the book, for those of you who haven't read them, do go into the unhinged territory. Anne Rice literally made Lestat a rock star in her novels, which were published in 1985, and Roland Jones took one look at it and rolled with it. But nothing in life is perfect, so of course, this show too has its moments that don't sit right with all the reviewers. One of them pointed out that several episodes feel like they're in such a hurry to get to the next idea, the next monologue, the next song, the next bit, that they're in danger of shaking apart, and that the early parts of the season have a frenzy that can make it hard for a coherent narrative to build. But there's a point to keep in mind. Even this reviewer is clearly invested in the show and called the first 2 seasons intensely underrated and was genuinely interested and engaged in the show. I believe that some shows take their time to make it feel like it was all worth it, and this is clearly one of those shows. Another thing that I have to talk about is the music. See, multiple reviewers singled it out as the genuine highlight of the show instead of just a gimmick. Den of Geeks' Bauer actually pointed out in her review that many songs that are featured throughout the episodes are less splashy musical numbers than inward explorations of Lestat's psyche, with lyrics that literally correlate with Lestat's turning by the vampire Magnus, his history with Louis, and his grief over Claudia's death, all important and life-changing moments for Lestat that any genuine musician would probably bank on. Bauer also noted that the music is better than it has any right to be. And the vocals? Yeah, Sam Reed did it himself. So, props to him because he deserves it. I've said it once and I'll say it again. Sam Reed deserves an Emmy for his performance. But for real though, Interview with a Vampire is one of the most underrated shows on television. Did you know that the show has been a Rotten Tomatoes powerhouse from the start? Season 1 sits 98%, Season 2 reached 100%, and now The Vampire Lestat has opened with another perfect score. I don't think half the TV shows that we hail as masterpieces would have survived this kind of rebrand this flawlessly. The show quite literally took a risky route with so much audacity that it would make a grown man blush, and they got rewarded for it. I would try to philosophize it a bit more, but honestly, I'm too excited to see Sam Reed in body glitter to properly articulate myself. The show premieres on June 7th, 2026 on AMC and AMC+, and you can bet that I'll be there sitting in front of my TV ready to see the Brat Prince's new melodious adventure. Let me know in the comments if you guys are excited to see Sam Reed like me or not. Do you think this rebrand was a good idea, or do you think the critics have just been grasping at straws about how bleak recent television series have been? Because, contexts like that matter. I personally have high hopes for this show, but I'm curious to hear your opinions. Like, subscribe as always, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Bye for now.